Secret Service is managing the extensive motorcades. These motorcades are typically led by local law enforcement vehicles, followed by the pilot car, which is outfitted with electronic warfare capabilities. Directly behind the pilot car are two identical Cadillac limousines, nearly armored. The purpose of having two identical vehicles is making it difficult to determine which car the president is in. Following these lead vehicles are several other specialized cars, including the Roadrunner, a mobile communications system. We will also be looking at different scenarios, such as what happens if the Beast is hit by a simple FPV drone, and how a Marine One rescue operation coordinates with the motorcade, all in the video ahead. To give you an idea of how the Air Force had to adjust its routes during critical situations, let's look at what happened after the Twin Towers were struck during the 9/11 attacks. Air Force One was stationed at Sarasota Airport. It began takeoff at 9:55 a.m., but shortly after, the crew received a report that someone armed with a Stinger missile might be positioned at the end of the runway. This forced the pilot to change course to avoid any potential threat. However, the report later turned out to be false. Meanwhile, a jetliner crashed into the Pentagon, which had possibly been aimed at the White House, and another attack seemed imminent. Due to widespread miscommunication and misinformation, Air Force One was redirected towards Barksdale Air Force Base. With uncertainty about how many more hijacked planes might be targeting Washington, D.C., the Secret Service decided it was too dangerous to return the president to the Capitol. While Air Force One flew in a holding pattern over the Gulf of Mexico, the crew received word that the White House had received an anonymous threat stating, "Angel is next." Angel was the code name for Air Force One. For example, let's examine how we gather our sources from 1,000 digital news outlets and demonstrate how misinformation Donald Trump's recent comments about Liz Cheney. Ground News reports that 221 sources are covering this story. 53% lean left and 33% lean right. They have a biased distribution tool to help visualize this. Just below, you'll find the credibility of the sources. We can also look at who owns these news outlets. For instance, 56% of the sources are owned by media conglomerates. On the left, Spiegel frames Trump's remarks as fantasizing about guns aimed at Cheney, emphasizing potential incitement. On the right, Blaze Media disputes this with the headline, "Desperate Media claims Trump wants Liz Cheney to face a firing squad, but video proves they're lying, focusing on media credibility and defending Trump." This comparison shows how framing impacts perceptions, so to get credible sources. Interestingly, despite its advanced technology, the plane does not carry any onboard weapons. However, it is equipped with sophisticated electronic countermeasures to ensure the safety of the president and all on board. Let's take a closer look at what happens when a heat-seeking missile, such as the Iglis, is launched toward a potentially low-flying Air Force One. Once the aircraft's sensors detect the missile threat, the defense system is automatically activated. The system then deploys advanced countermeasures, emitting a very high signal that confuses the missile's guidance tech. This causes the missile to lock onto a false target and veer off course, neutralizing the threat. Simultaneously, Air Force One can ascend to a much higher altitude, further increasing its safety from other possible launch pad. Now let's move on to scenario 2. Interestingly, the motorcade for the President of the United States can consist of 40 to 50 vehicles. The motorcade may vary, but it typically includes a wide range of vehicles. Stage 1 of the motorcade includes the local police vehicle, which acts as the lead car. Directly behind it is the Secret Service pilot SUV. These two vehicles work in coordination to clear the road, ensuring the route is safe and secure. Following these vehicles are motorcycles, also known as sweepers.